We live, baby. Yeah, we out here in the streets, baby. Yo, what up, everybody? It's rising from the ashes yet again. Another slow burn. Another Sunday slow burn. Waiting on Dan still. He'll pop in here. Indy and I holding it down. Tried and true.
Yeah, boy.
So I don't know if you guys tuned in for the last one. Dan had the idea to go over some ghostly apparitions of ancient past, and thought that was pretty fascinating rabbit hole, especially as we're entering in a more of a paranormal time of the year. As the sun starts to recede, we are going into the known parts of the darker transition of the year. So this is fun, and I myself have some ancient art that depicts some sort of flying saucers of sorts. So it's going to be fun to get into. I guess we'll play some music until Dan gets in. Just be cruising.
Solid.
And I will also be right back.
Right.
All right. Yo, who is that watching? We got one person watching. Who are you?
Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Just chilling for a little bit until we get Dan, until we get maybe a couple people engaged here. Oh, he said send it again. I see. Okay. Yeah, man. So what's been going on with you, brother? Any fun discoveries lately for you?
Yeah, well, soon we're gonna go out to the largest underground sea, freshwater sea in America, out in Tennessee.
Wait, the underground sea?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more about this, please.
So my girlfriend's taking me out to this place. She went there on a field trip in high school, I think, back when. And this place is massive, underground. I guess it's bigger than a lake. It's a sea, but it's fresh water. They stock this place with trout. The trout get massive in there, but they have like less pigment than regular trout because it's so dim in there. But they do have some lights like under the water where you can see the fish. They take you around in there. It gets pretty cold in there. It's like around 50 degrees in this giant underground cave. And I guess there's a tunnel. What happened was some kid found this little rabbit hole and started crawling through there. And that's how they found this underground sea, this massive underground sea. And so over time, they burrowed out that hole to make it like a big tunnel where you can walk right through. You go in there and they'll get you on this boat and then bring you around on the sea in there and just show you the whole expanse.
What?
Yeah.
That's
pretty
super
wild.
sweet. What's the name of it?
Looking forward to that. Let me go ask my lady. 1 second. Hey, baby,
Underground
what's the underground
sea?
place?
Yeah, I'm down with that. I am down with that. I know there's a lot of underground
Okay.
tunnels over Tennessee, Kentucky. That whole part of the country is just littered with canyons. So you got the Mammoth Caves in Kentucky, and apparently the world's biggest underground sea in
Yeah, it's the
Tennessee or
Lost Sea.
Memphis
The
or
Lost Sea
Mississippi.
in Sweetwater, Tennessee.
Sweetwater, Tennessee. Now that makes sense. Sweetwater.
Yeah.
And that's a biblical term reference, right? If I'm not mistaken. Sweetwater?
Yeah, Sweetwater actually also goes back to the Sumerian times where they had the sweet water, which refers to the fresh water, and then they had the salt water.
That's right. That's right. There was, and then that symbiotic. So God created the sweet waters, right? The sweet water to drink,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was kind of that separation of the two.
Yeah, they believe that the gods came from the clouds, which they called the sky beyond the sky, and that on the clouds there was land, and their seas would overflow, and their sweetwater seas would become our rain, and then wash down to create our lakes and rivers, and then eventually come into our seas, which are salt water. They thought that the sweet water really came from the heavens and land on the clouds.
And on the clouds, yeah. I guess that almost kind of ties into some of the stuff that when we bring it up with the ancient UFOs and these art. I mean, a lot of times when you look at ancient aliens, paradigms or ancient alien researchers, as they call it, things like that. It's like what's the difference between, when you really break it down, what's the difference between divine interference between alien interference, right? Like some cosmic force outside of the planets themselves. Like where is the separation come in between it? It's only what we consider it to be. I mean, because if we think that things are created here on Earth, it's from what we might consider an alien thing. It gets really sticky, man. It gets really sticky.
Totally. The divine is kind of an alien world to us because our inner eyes are pretty much closed. And so when we start to open these inner eyes, we go to these other realms in our mind. It's been alien for us our whole lives. And in the mainstream, it's completely alien. And in science, it's alien. They say in science, unless we can view things objectively, they're not real. There could be a subjective hallucination. So they discredited these other realms of the divine, and it's considered to be some illusory world. But we know that, it's out there. Divine is within us, man. You open your inner eye and it's all right there.
I heard that. The silver string.
Yes, sir.
Divine.
Right back.
It's Divine Dan. Divine Dan.
What's
Danny the
Divine. What's cracking?
We've been waiting for you, man. Where you been?
Away. Really, Roman?
Yeah, Dan, where you been?
Watch link instead of the join link.
That's right. That's right. That's where you'll stay, in the watcher section.
I was a watcher.
I'm just kidding. Yo, I want to open this up to anybody also. If you guys have any ghostly apparition stories or any fun stories about UFOs in Antiquity, or if any paranormal stories at all, you guys can go over to our Telegram group where the link is posted that you can join the chat, and we'd love to see you guys. So I'm going to say that a few times during the stream. I'm also going to say that Dan will be running this one because, as it goes, I didn't let him get in some of the stuff that he really wanted to get into the last slow burn. So we thought we would start today's slow burn off with some of those findings that Dan had. So the stage is yours, Sir Dan. Take it away.
Oh, thank you. Well, what I wanted to get into was Our Lady Fatima, or the Fatima story of the Marian apparition that happened in Portugal that was witnessed by 3 kids. And through that experience, I guess Fatima gave them some prophecies that are sealed away and 2 of them I think they're released, and the third one is still sealed. But as I was going through looking at Fatima and other historical like apparitions of Mary, I found out that there is a whole bunch of them, and they're called the Marian apparitions, and they pretty much have existed in all kinds of different countries under different names, but it seems to be a Virgin Mary of sorts. And it's very interesting because, for one, none of them have happened in America that I'm aware of, but they have happened all over the place in France and Africa and India, all kinds of different places. But so, like, it's just very interesting kind of what they say, and why are they always feminine. And it seems that the church, the Catholic Church, has came out and said that 11 of them are approved by them, but a lot of the other ones are not. And
What do you mean
they
approved?
yeah, they're approved by the Catholic Church
Oh,
as real apparitions. Yeah. And
yeah,
but other
what
ones are-
what deems like the Catholic Church approval to say like this ghost definitely Mary?
because I guess it's a holy ghost or a holy apparition, and not something that could be unholy. I guess I'm not really 100% sure on how they do that, but I do have some articles and stuff. So let me see if I can pull those up.
And pull
And,
those up, man.
But I also have this book that I bought. Some people from the Telegram might know about, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 months ago even. I bought a whole bunch of books, and I posted all the books that I bought in the Telegram. And this book is called 100 Names of Mary. And it's interestingly, I was like, oh yeah, I have this book after I was getting into Fatima and these Marian apparitions. And then I opened the book, and it pretty much lists every single one. So there's Mother of all people, Mother of God, Mother of good counsel, Mother of grace, Mother of mercy, Mother of perpetual help, Mother of sorrows, Mother of the church, the mystical rose, Lady of Akita, Our Lady of all nations, Our Lady of Apracida, Our Lady of China, Our Lady of divine providence. These I'm just skipping around. Lady of Gior. There's Lady of Mount Carmel. But apparently these apparitions started in it was the apparition of Guadalupe in Mexico, and I still haven't found.
Hold up one sec,
actual-
if I can. I just
Yeah.
want to ask you about if you know anything about Mount Carmel.
I don't know a whole lot. I know that there's some interesting connection to it, though.
Yeah, because there's Carmel, California, and there's this guy I was looking in for today's stream called Alexander Weig, who was this kind of slept on artist of the early dawning of the 20th century. He was a Dutch American artist, and he is from Weigers, California, or he later like founded his like art school and everything in Weigers, California. And sorry, Alexander Weigers founded his art school and foundings in Carmel, California. And what he was really famous for, or later became more famous for, was creating the first schematics of a UFO, of a flying device, of that Ezekiel's wheel all moving type of thing. So I was like, Carmel, California, where's that at? And then you just said the Lady of Mount Carmel. And so, as we talk about apparitions, as we talk about, the potentiality of UFOs in antiquity, this Carmel connection is really interesting. So that was just kind of an interesting week. And we'll get into that later when I bring up Alexander Weigers. I didn't mean to interrupt, sir. Please keep going.
Well, let me get into Our Lady of Mount Carmel then.
Yeah, man.
So from the
You're muted, Dan. You muted yourself, bud.
Yo.
Yo.
All right. So Our Lady of Mount Carmel, her story. People sometimes refer to Our Lady of Mount Carmel as Our Lady of the Brown Scapular, for she presented the great gift of the brown scapular to the church. A scapular was originally a sleeveless outer garment of a monk's habit, and lay people showed their affection for a religious order by wearing that congregation's scapular. As fashions changed, scapulars became smaller until now they are 2 pieces of cloth colored or white, plain or with images, joined by cords or strings and worn over the shoulders or around the neck. Over the centuries, the Roman Catholic Church has approved the number of the scapulars for popular devotional use. Those with a Marian character include the blue scapular of the Immaculate Conception, the green scapular of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and the white scapular of Our Lady of Ransom. The most famous is the scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, or the brown scapular. According to legend, in Aylesford, England, on the morning of July 16, 1251, after a night spent praying for the Virgin's assistance in resolving the conflicts that were destroying the Carmelite order, St. Simon Stock had a vision of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. She was holding the infant Jesus, and as a host of angels surrounded her, handing Simon the brown scapular, she proclaimed, "My beloved son, receive this scapular for your order. It is the special sign of a privilege which I have obtained for you and for all God's children who honored me as Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Those who died devotedly clothed with this scapular shall be preserved from the eternal fire. The brown scapular is a badge of salvation. The brown scapular is a shield in time of danger. The brown scapular is a pledge of peace and special protection until the end of time." Simon had
Muted.
on here. Where was I?
You're just talking about the brown scapular.
Simon had been chosen as the 6th general of the Carmelites in 1245 when the order government was officially transferred to England from Palestine. The Carmelites had lived on Mount Carmel, made famous by the prophet Elijah in 1 Kings 18:41 through 46. In the shadow of Mount Carmel lies Nazareth, where the Blessed Virgin conceived the Son of God. The Carmelites were the first to build a church to the Blessed Mother, honoring her as Our Lady of Mount Carmel. The congregation was formalized in the 13th century, but persecution during the Crusades forced the order to leave its ancient monastery.
Now, I'm curious as to, it says right here, one day through the rosary and the scapular, Our Lady will save the world. I'm wondering what kind of specific, looks like we have somebody coming to the stream. Nice. What kind of specific cloth this was. Because cloth of antiquity is a very special thing. So I'm super curious as to what. What's happening, Zach? Billy Ardball? What's happening with you, man?
Not too much, man. How you guys doing?
Not too bad,
Good.
dude. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Sunday Slow Burn.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going, man?
I saw it come up on the Telegram chat.
Sweet, man.
Nice. Yeah, we're chatting about ghostly apparitions today, the Marian apparitions and UFOs of Renaissance art.
Nice.
Just hanging out, or you have anything to add?
No, I'm just trying to listen and see if I can throw anything in based on context, but I just jumped in like 10 seconds ago, so I'm still kind of like picking up where you guys were.
Okay.
For sure, for
No
sure.
worries. Yeah. Soon after Our Lady's presentation of the brown scapular, the problems facing the Carmelites disappeared. Pope Innocent IV reaffirmed the order's official sanction, and King Henry III granted the Carmelites royal protection. The wearing of the brown scapular quickly spread throughout Christendom. Symbolically, it recalls the parable of the Good Shepherd, just as Jesus will do anything to find the one lost sheep. So the scapular seeks the salvation of every lost soul. Over the centuries, many saints were buried in their brown scapulars, and when their remains were exhumed, the scapulars were found perfectly preserved. Through the bodies and other clothing had decayed. The brown scapular is a symbol of the Blessed Mother's continuing concern for the welfare of her children. In the words of the Reverend Isidore Dixon, clothing is even today a sign of parental love and care, even when the clothing is purchased at Kmart. Does any Kmart exist anymore? But
Actually,
many more
there's one outside of Poughkeepsie, New York. I just saw it. Still going.
Nice.
How many more
Holding
in
in there.
Jesus' day, when mothers carded the wool, spun the thread, wove the cloth, and made the clothing? Our earthly mother clothes us. Our heavenly mother clothes us. Without a word of explanation, we know exactly what that means. Many miracles have been attributed to the scapular in Our Lady of Mount Carmel. She is said to have calmed storms, deflected bullets, stemmed floods, ended droughts, extinguished fires, and cured blindness and other infirmities. The brown scapular has also figured in two of Our Lady's greatest modern day apparitions. The last apparition of Lourdes occurred on July 16th, the feast of Our Lady Mount Carmel, and when Our Lady of Fatima made the sun dance, she was wearing the scapular of Our Lady Mount Carmel. So that's the Mount Carmel apparition. But yeah, I'm going to go into some other ones also. But
Hey, have you heard of the Ivory Coast situation? That they had the apparition of Mary and UFOs showed up simultaneously. Did you hear about that one, Dan?
Nice.
nah,
Yeah, this is unreal, man. The people were all out there and they saw a very strong light appear in the sky. Now it says, some say UFOs and the Virgin Mary appeared in the sky. 7 people were able to register the event with their mobile phones and they recorded it. And in the recording is there's a strong light coming from the sun that's visible. After 1 to 30 seconds, something similar to a woman dressed in white immersed in this light and begins to be seen. And this is all in the videos.
that's insane.
Now, this is on April 20th of 2011. So, unfortunately,
Oh, April 20th, huh?
Coast. Yeah.
Huh. That's super significant date, actually. That's interesting.
Moon
That is
day.
super interesting.
Now, is that bicycle
Is
day
that
or is
the
that like
moon
the
day?
day after that?
420?
Yeah.
No, maybe it's a different 20.
Okay.
So it sounds to me like they're whatever this sect of Christianity is putting this out has a equal mother-father paradigm going on. Is that what you're getting from that?
Like the UFOs being the male paradigm?
Well, just like the fact that like you've got the Father, God, you've got the Son, Jesus, and then you've got Mary, the Mother. That almost seems like the Trinity, as opposed to what they call it, like the Holy Ghost. It seems like the Holy Ghost is the female spirit.
Yeah, actually, the Holy
I would
Ghost
agree
was
with that. I think it was at one point. Mhm.
Yeah, it was known in Aramaic as Baba, which was actually female. It meant the Great Mother, possibly referring to Mother Earth that exists within us.
Right.
Then the Hebrew changed it from Baba to Abba, which, according to gematria, is equivalent because they have the same letters.
Mm-hmm.
But they've kind of disregarded the fact that it went from a female aspect to a male aspect. It went from the Great Mother to the Heavenly Father. And we don't really hear much mention of that, but that definitely went down. If you look at the old Aramaic translations, it goes back to Baba, which ties to Mama.
That actually makes more sense to me because I feel like the feminine aspect or the motherly aspect of creation is kind of demonized by the secular church these days. They don't like that, and it makes more sense to have a mother, father, son. You need a mother and father to make a son, so that makes the Trinity make more sense to me. Maybe Mother Earth, God in heaven, Jesus the Son, or whoever the Son, the Christ consciousness, the Son.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get into a little bit of the Catholic Church and how they Roman asked, like, how are these deemed, or how are these like accepted? It said, according to the norms of the Catholic Church, which have been in effect since the Council of Trent in the 16th century, the initial responsibility of evaluating the merits of any purported apparition falls to the bishop of the area in which the event allegedly occurred. If after an investigation the bishop determines that the apparition constitutes an authentic supernatural appearance of the Blessed Virgin Mary, then the apparition is considered approved for the entire Catholic Church, unless his successor or the Holy See were to contradict this decision. And the Holy See is the Holy and S-E-E. So the Holy Seer or the Holy See. So the positive judgment, the apparition is in the category. The apparitions in this category have been judged to be worthy of belief, approved with widespread liturgical veneration, endorsed by the Holy See. A distinction is sometimes made between apparitions that are Vatican approved and those that are not. However, by the norms of the Normae Congregationis, I don't know, it's fucking Latin. The only formal mechanisms for the Holy See approval of an apparition would be the Pope approving an apparition that had occurred in the Diocese of Rome, or the Pope approving an apparition against the will of the local bishop, neither of which has happened to date, even in the cases in which the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith cooperates with an investigation that yields a positive result. The conquest approval derives its authority from the local bishop, not from the Holy See, because approval by the Holy See can therefore only be claimed based on informal indicators of endorsement. Lists of Vatican-approved Marian apparitions vary widely depending on the criteria used. The criterion used here is that the Holy See must have approved the widespread veneration of the apparition by inscribing it on a liturgical calendar, besides that of particular diocese in which the apparition occurred. And the first apparition approval was Our Lady of Guadalupe in 1531 in Tepeyac, Mexico, Mexico City. The seers were Juan Diego Cuauhtlazin, Juan Bernardino, and the approval was in 1555. And Juan Diego, an Aztec who had recently converted to Catholic faith, saw an apparition of Mary early in the morning on December 9th, 1531, during which Mary asked that a church can be built in the site of the apparition. The local bishop did not believe his story. In response, during another appearance to Juan Diego 3 days later, after also appearing to Diego's sick uncle, Juan Bernardino, Our Lady imprinted an image of herself on Juan Diego's cloak, tilma. The cloak is on display at the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. Over the years, Our Lady of Guadalupe became a symbol of the Catholic faith in Mexico and the Mexican diaspora. So it's really interesting. There's so many of them, and they're like in Ireland. The next three are all in France. But to me, it's like the bigger question is, why are these female apparitions? Why is it Virgin Mary? And why is she telling people to, in the case of Fatima, it's she's telling people to accept God, accept Jesus into their life so that they can be healed and be saved. And then also curing and helping people. And in some of these other ones, some other things are kind of similar, where they're like building churches or something to do with the effect of helping establish a church in some respect. So it just makes me curious if these things are actually happening, if these are perpetrated to help grow Catholicism or Christianity in that area, or what's really going on, and why a Virgin Mother. Why is, I mean, obviously that it symbolizes like emotional well-being and help, care, the motherly figure wanting to help you, so it doesn't seem as scary or whatnot. But I'm just kind of wondering what people think about the fact that it seems to be these female apparitions and not necessarily Jesus or God coming to people in these instances.
Well, a lot of them happen in France, which is interesting because there's a lot of, esoteric occult history that we have in France, and the heavy magnetic energies from the sacred sites that are all throughout, riddled throughout France. And so I'm wondering how much of these are like almost holographic type of situations, because on the show these next couple of months we are talking about ley lines, cymatics, dragon lines, earth and energy, and the connection to the paranormal, the experiences that people have, and how they might be connected, how people might have more paranormal experiences in places where there's more electromagnetic energy. So and then what's the message? What's like the message protruding from this? Healing, finding God and Jesus. I wonder if the messages have been a little bit construed to say that they said Jesus, when really maybe they said something else. But in order to be a legitimate Marian, apparition, it needed to say that, oh, that's your message, right? But I wonder if it's just like something else and being contorted by the church. It's fascinating, interesting.
And I was wrong. There has been one in the United States in 1859. There was Our Lady of Good Help in Champion, Wisconsin, United States.
Well, Wisconsin, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
on December 8th. A lot of these happen. I know you talked about before, Roman, a lot of weird things happen in like October, November, December. And a lot of these are actually in kind of those months, September. Well, one's February, there's December, there's one in May, July, August, April. I don't know. Maybe there's no connection there, but
I got one in October. It's around the fall time. Back
Fatima
in
was in October also.
That might be the Fatima, one of the
56?
Fatimas. Yeah, 76. This research that I'm looking at, Cesar Vallocia, he's a ufologist from the National Ufological Center in Italy. And he's been researching some of the testimonies from the Lady of Fatima apparition. And what he's saying here is that in 76, they had access to all the original documentation kept in the archives of the shrine of the city. And a real story came out, completely different events that had been upset by the Roman Catholic Church for decades. So I guess in 76 was when he was digging up the research, actually. So he says, a giant cosmic gate aimed at covering up the events of the time, starting from the largest mass sighting of humanity, that of 13th of October, 1917. So it goes back to 1917 Fatima apparition. More than 50,000 witnesses witnessed the dancing sun miracle. And he started to investigate the phenomenology inherent in the apparitions. And it turned out that they're all united by the same matrix and fully assimilable in facts and circumstances to the modern accounts of ufological events. From the apparition of Kibeho to that of Heed, from Placenica to San Bonico. So he says that a lot of these events actually parallel with modern day UFO witnesses, but they probably just didn't have the words to describe them back then. They didn't associate that. And he says that in the stories of the Bible, the apocryphal Gospels, and the testimony of the Marian apparitions, phases and affirmations emerge from the Virgin Mary, which indicate extraterrestrial interference aimed at strengthening the beliefs and conversions of the devotees.
That's fascinating, man. It's like, why are they trying to strengthen the Christianity? Why are the aliens trying to strengthen that into people? You know, that's another interesting question or something to think about. Is why is that advantageous for them?
Can I
You know, or maybe it's just true and I'm just an asshole non-believer. But
can I play devil's advocate for a minute?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
by all
please.
means.
I know that the Vatican has a lot of global domination ties throughout history, where they would try to take over lands, try to infiltrate different governments. What if, in certain circumstances, I'm not saying all of them, that the Vatican could say, "Oh, you know, we saw Mary in this rock, so we need to build a church here. We need to take over this whole land. We need to take this whole 20 acres or whatever." You know, and you times that by however many different instances, and all of a sudden they've got a pretty good foothold in the country in some key demographic areas where they've built a church or a temple or some sort of thing where now they control that land. You
Well,
guys thought of that angle?
that's interesting too, because
Yeah.
what we were just talking about of like sacred sites or ley lines being held for, you know, building these churches. Like what they would do is they would specifically find places that would have electromagnetic anomalies and
Sure,
then
yeah.
build churches on top of that. So
Yeah, and so they can now control that land and
control exactly. So that's an incredibly fascinating point. And you know, and then if you're able to control the magnetic energy by any means, and maybe even if you know during a certain time of the year when celestial powers will be a little bit heightened, you might be able to make an apparition appear almost holographically of sorts. Like,
Sure.
you know, I mean, who knows? Maybe an apparition could be a cymatic figure or a cymatic shape. I haven't seen one. We need to start pulling up some pictures, some screenshots, but I wanted to go into something that I did find since we're weaving on the Vatican. So I found this is a cool one. So I found a bunch of art, right, of these ancient Renaissance artists that would like put random subtleties into their art. And I think the most famous one that I think even got brought up on Joe Rogan was the Madonna painting with like a quite literal flying disc in the background. Okay.
Mhm.
But one of the things that stuck out to me was this artist named Jacopo Zucchi. That's my fucking dog's
That's
name.
your dog.
Is Zucchi. That's Zucchi boy.
Yeah. Synchronicity.
For the Vatican. Like he has multiple paintings inside the Vatican. And he has a very famous painting that is almost depicting some sort of UFO. I mean, he has a lot of these like cosmic paintings, right? Like this, I think, what is this one? The Assembly of the Gods. It's just some really, really great art nonetheless.
Wow.
You know, you see the apparitions here in the back. You got Hermes here, Hades. Oh shit, what's that? Little face here on this lady's arm. What is that? That's probably Athena. You know, so this is Zucchi. This is Zucchi boy. And the one that I thought was interesting that he did all of these here. He was known as a fine artist. I got one somewhere. Let's check this one out. The Age of Gold. This is the Golden Age, 1565. This booty. But look at this one. Do you guys see that? These two little cherubs are literally peeing. This one's peeing, and are you guys looking at what I'm? Do you guys see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's nuts.
This motherfucker. Look at him. This one's straight shooting stream, bro. Just sitting there, fascinated. Like, dude, nice arch. And this one's like, oh, dude, sick. Like, and these kids nonchalant. Like, I mean, this is the golden age. You know, you can golden shower within the pond and let your children play in there, you know, willy nilly. It's all good. I mean, look, you got the hidden owl right down here. You got a crab here. You get the squirrel here munching. You got the duck. What's that? Boing. Just kidding. Anyways, man. Yeah, this is Jacopo Zucchi. Something else I thought was interesting about this is like looking at Mary here, or the Madonna, which is Mary, right? And this apparition of Mary that we're talking about, I mean, she's huge. Like in this art, like I know these guys are kneeling down, but she's big. She's a big woman.
Oh.
You know, and I'm starting to think, I'm like, okay, so, you know, when you start to tie like what's divine and what's potentially like UFO or whatever, what have you, and it's like, you know, we talk about the aliens possibly being giants, or they were taller, they're bigger, you know, potential of like the Nephilim. And so I think Mary is a high echelon, you know, of it. Like she's not no small fry. She might be running the whole show, and might be popping up to people in holographic ways to try to get them to convert. I'm not sure, you know.
I thought you were going to show some of the other Renaissance art that has like the UFO disc in it. There's the famous ones. But
I do
yeah,
have
that's
those.
pretty
This is
interesting
just
too.
I brought this up mainly because it was we were
Sorry
talking
about that.
the
My
Vatican.
audio got all screwed up. Sorry.
Oh, no worries, bud. No worries.
You're good.
Yeah, to go back to the connection with the Catholics and some of the reasons why they might be affiliated with these UFO theories. The guy that I'm looking at here, Cesar Veloccio, he went on to say that they think that, like you guys mentioned earlier, they've used Christianity to gain control over mankind and take over certain regions. And they think that the beings from deep space settled here on Earth thousands of years ago, and up until this day, influence the development of human being and lay out the foundations of many religious beliefs within Christianity. So I think it's just to kind of gain control and bring people into like a common belief together so that they can all influence them. But, you know, that's all subject to questioning. I mean, why would that belief system be an effective way to control us? I guess it does keep people kind of consumed with fear and guilt, and keeps them from kind of trying to rebel and take their freedom back, which makes them easily exploitable.
Yeah, one of the interesting things in the Fatima story was that I think it's interesting because hell isn't really perceived really in the Bible. It's kind of thrown on to the idea of Christianity, you know, later of this pit of hell or whatnot. But Fatima opens up a pit where she shows these kids these demons and stuff like that are in the pit of hell. And it's like, why, you know, it, and like you said with the fear thing, it's showing like this is what you have to fear if you don't accept God or Jesus into your life. And then also like the kids would ask her to help people in the village cure them of their sicknesses. And she said, well, some of them will be healed, some of them won't be. The ones that won't be don't have a strong faith in God, basically, and so they're not going to get healed. And if God is omnipotent and all powerful, why would he not heal people that are sick, regardless of their belief in him or not? You know, it seems kind of backwards. But so it definitely lends towards the fear aspect of trying to get people to succumb to the belief system.
If I could draw an analogy, this might bring some insight to it. Kind of the same way that we shepherd sheep or cattle, and we use a dog to instill fear in them, to kind of herd them and whip up the stragglers and kind of push them along. It's an effective way to shepherd the people. Also known as
it kind of keeps it keeps their fear levels up, so they're always on guard. And it's like how the modern Christian church kind of keeps that guilt factor going. So the whole time you're there, you're just like guilty of all the things you've done, and you know, it just keeps you in that like lowered vibration where you can't break out, because you all these horrible things you've done you should be so ashamed and guilty for. You know, that's that control mechanism that they use, because I grew up in that, and that's definitely what they used it for.
Yeah, when you're operating out of fear, it shuts down your prefrontal cortex and puts you back into thinking in the reptilian brain. So you're not going to be able to access your intuition. You're not going to be able to think, oh, wait, what are these lights in the sky? Maybe we could figure out who they are and try to communicate with them. Maybe, you know, usurp some of their technology. So it keeps us kind of in a place where we're just going to stay in exaltation. Like, oh, we don't understand them. We're not going to try to understand them. We're just going to worship them.
Well, I think it also keeps you in a state of not knowing your true potential.
True.
Like if you always feel like, you know, a lot of the moves you make throughout a given day are sin and they're bad and you should be ashamed of them, it kind of keeps you down. It doesn't allow you to catapult forward into understanding what humans are really capable of.
But as Dan was saying earlier, it seems a little bit contradictory to some of the different understandings that these higher beings are coming here to help us with our salvation and try to help us find enlightenment and overthrow the tyranny. So this goes kind of diametrically opposed to that narrative. But some people believe there's different factions of these, what I like to call sky people. Some of them want to enslave us and some of them want to liberate us.
You know, going back to before we dive into like the Renaissance art, you know, one of the more famous stories of UFOs in the past, you know, is like getting this, where did we get like, you know, the heightened information on, you know, mathematics and everything. And one of the more famous stories is, you know, Enoch and Ezekiel and Ezekiel's wheel, and Ezekiel getting the information to build the temples. And, you know, here, you know, is a clear depiction of what kind of was taken away from Ezekiel's story. And it's, you know, it's described as the heavens. Would they describe it as the heavens, as, you know, as their description of what it could be, because it's clean. You know, one of the things, you know, they describe a lot of times when people would get taken, these prophets, as they call them, would get taken. They were chosen specifically, maybe because they had some sort of like genetic quality that, you know, maybe might have even been put there by whoever took them in the first place. You know, they were were one of the special breeds in the farm. And they could trust these people to do with the information what they needed. But it's interesting because, you know, I think a lot of it is when you start to open yourself up to streamline information, you might be able to get downloads that you didn't know that you've had before. And the Ezekiel's wheel is a big one. You know, I can't remember his name. He's like a super OG. He's an older guy. And he, you know, he brings this theory up a lot of Ezekiel's wheel and them being aliens and UFOs and such. And Eric Von Daniken, that's who, Eric Von Daniken. And he actually worked with NASA, and NASA created the Ezekiel's wheel to propulsion like Ezekiel's wheel. NASA created that with Eric von Daniken, going off of what they could from the Ezekiel story. And you're able to get something that moves like what we would consider a spaceship moving like in the atmosphere. It's pretty interesting. And then one more photo for you guys. This is like the miracle of the snow, the foundation of Santa Maria Maggiore. And I have a better photo of it here. So, what? They chopped off the fucking top. That's crazy. So you have all these like UFOs like in the sky, right? A lot of these pictures, like when you read the description of it, they'll say that that these are clouds, right? Because they're on this cloud. They're floating on this cloud. Well, I mean, an artist rendition, bro, look at all of this, all of the high details, and look at these clouds. First of all, clouds never form like that. Any artist would know that. You have the...
Not anymore.
Oh, there's the top.
There's the top, right? So, like, look at the shape. Okay, look at the shape of it. Okay, and look at this flat cloud that they're on, and look at all these other little cloud droplets. Like, that's just not like this. It's literally like a swarm of UFOs hovering over this town. And as this saint or this pope, look, this guy's carrying his saying not to make sure that his it doesn't get snowy. And he's out here, he's outlining this in the snow. He's outlining it. He's outlining the story. He's communicating. And look how he's the only one wearing this hat. Okay.
I thought he was putting.
He's yeah, it looks like it, right? What is that called?
It's mini golf.
What's that game?
Yeah, he's going for a birdie.
When they're shaving the ice, right? They're like shaving the ice. What's that game? That Olympic game? Winter games.
Curling.
Yeah, it looks like some curling shit. But so like the hat, right? Like the hats, when you start to look at like people that get like it's a part, like this is a peasant hat. Okay, over here.
Is that one of those like fish head hats? Like the
yeah, that's what I think, man. I think that like
looks like one.
You know, they're emanating these like these gods. They're emanating these UFOs, these aliens. You know, they can connect to them. They can talk to them. That's their antenna of sorts.
Can I say something real quick here?
Nope. Nope. You're banned from talking.
It looks like go back to the picture though, because none of the people are looking up in the sky. It looks like they're all looking for the Pope to tell them what is happening. So it seems like maybe what's going on in the sky is maybe what he's thinking or whatever, and then he's putting it onto the ground for the image for them to see, and whatever is in the sky isn't really happening. And like those stream of dots to me conveys like maybe the thinking, and then the front image shows like what the image that he's getting from thinking. You know,
that's
like
not near as fun.
Dot.
That does look kind of like
I'm just saying, I'm interpreting it in a different way, maybe. But
when was this painting done?
Because nobody's looking up.
1428. The painting, part of the altar depicting the miracle of the snow, was painted between 1428 and 1432 by Masolino de Panicali for the Church of the Santa Maria in Rome. Okay, it has since been removed and can now be seen in the National Gallery of Capodimonte in Naples to commemorate the miracle of the snow. Every August 5th, a cascade of white petals descends from the covered ceiling to the altar placed during the religious festivities. This painting commemorates the foundation of Santa Maria Maggiore in the center of Rome. The legend says that between the 4th and 5th of August of 352, Pope Liberius and Giovanni, a rich Roman gentleman, dreamed of Mother Mary asking them to build a church devoted to her on Esquilino Hill, one of the famous 7 hills of Rome. The Virgin also told them that the place is chosen to build the church. It was going to snow. Generally, snow is extremely rare in Rome, even the coldest seasons. So the following morning, when a rectangle of snow was discovered on the Esquilino Hill, During the hottest month of the Roman summer, it was regarded as miraculous. People crowded to see the patch of snow, which persisted despite the heat. As soon as the plot for the building had been staked out, the snow melted and the first major church in Rome in honor of Mary was erected in its place. There has been some speculation among ufologists that this event was actually a phenomenon of an extraterrestrial origin. In fact, this miracle of the snow was likened to another event that occurred at 2:30 p.m. October 27th, 1954. Several discs were reported flying over the sky of Florence and left in the strange passage flakes, white cotton-like. The substance was quick to disintegrate if held in the hand. Nearly 60 years later, the case of the Florence phenomenon remains unresolved. Speculation links these two events, and there are those who maintain that this is why the Massalina's cloud are not depicted like normal clouds, lacking any vaporous contours, but are all clearly delineated, almost disc-like in their appearance. Massoliano de Panicali was a Florentine painter in the early Renaissance whose real name was Tommaso di Cristoforo Fini. His versatile painting incorporated his feeling for decorative color with strong modeling and spatial organization. He was admitted in 1423 to the Apothecaries Guild in Florence, and his painters were enrolled and soon commissioned to paint the frescoes in the Brancacci Chapel in Florence. These were continued by the... Who cares? Here we are, though. Aliens, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
so. Never mind what I said. I was wrong.
Hey, he's good to
But
keep
what's
open mind on
interesting,
this,
though?
man.
Yeah, true, though.
My
But what is-
interpretation of this kinda... Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, but what is interesting though is they say that the UFO left these little sputtering patterns of these little clouds behind it. So to me, that seems like a old UFO technology or something like that, or maybe
Yeah, it's like an
even,
old like Model T UFO.
yeah,
It was like
right?
they had to crank the front up to get it going, and
Old school.
like old school like Woody Woodpecker
And
cartoons.
Almost like steam
It kind
power.
of goes back to
Yeah.
to where like the UFO sightings in like the 1940s and stuff were like these top hat fucking UFOs that look like they were built in the 1940s or 50s. It doesn't look like it's more advanced. It just looks like it's a flying machine that was built in that era. And so I would say the same to this. And maybe maybe UFOs are being perpetrated by Catholicism in a way. Or maybe they have some type of technology and they're using it and not telling anybody. They have, the Vatican has lots of secrets.
No, what I'm reading here is not that it said that they pooped out clouds. It said that
that's what it said.
No, but it said it leaves it on the ground. And Dan, when we talked to a guest, right, that we talked to the other day,
So maybe like crop circles.
Yeah,
angel hair.
I think. Well, I don't want to reveal too much because we do have a sweet episode that'll come out and everyone can kind of hear it. But there's been reportings of like burn marks on the ground. They still, even though they're high technology, they leave like a remnant on the ground, like there being little char marks or something. So this could be an ashy remain. And since it was the hottest day in the summer in Florence, obviously there was no snow since they don't get snow. And it said the snow permitted even though it was really hot out. Well, maybe it was ash and burnt grass and charred remains. And the Pope just told the people whatever the fuck he wanted to tell them and said, you know what? We build it here. This is where the aliens told us to build it. It's a sacred site. And do as I say, you fucking peasants. Also, let me chop the dick off your baby and eat it because I'm a cannibal. Sorry, that was a little too extreme there.
Yeah, but no, I think what they were talking about in the article seemed to me that they were saying they had built a new foundation for a church they were going to build, which is like a rectangular plot. And then the snow came down like miraculously because it was hot out. And then it persisted because it was still hot. They would have expected it to melt. But as you guys know, like stone and cement or pavement will stay colder than grass or other things. And so the snow will remain on cold stone, even if it's hotter out. So that's the impression I got from the article. But
It's like
I feel
Cold Stone Creamery. That's their whole thing.
I love that place, man.
They have that like big
Get
cold
that big
stone,
block and they
and
just break it all down.
they scrape all the ice cream up.
Dude, with the brownie, you get the brownie in there, and like they chop it. Oh man, it's so good. I'm cutting out sugar. I haven't done sugar
Make
for
me
3
hungry.
days. So
Well, the concept works
getting
though.
your
Like
cravings.
that, you know,
Oh god, I'm getting some cravings.
it
Someone
holds
talk to me
it
about
holds the
that.
cold on the stone.
Now, have
I-
you guys looked into vexillology and heraldry of the headless knight?
No.
The headless knight is prominent in a lot of shields of vexillology and heraldry, where it's just a head of armor of a knight, and it refers to unseen powers behind a government or a nation. And a lot of people tie it back to Venice as being the unseen power that oversees a lot of stuff. A lot of people connect that back to the Vatican. But I felt like in that painting, they might have been referring to the unseen powers that were decreeing what was being spoken on that stage to the people, like the people from the sky kind of pass this information down to the Christian leaders or the Catholic leaders to disperse to the people. And it really came from like a higher power that was unseen, which is why the people weren't looking up at it. That's just the impression I got from it.
Okay, I like that. That's interesting. So do you have any photos of that, or can I where can I see this headless knight?
The headless knight, if you look up headless knight in heraldry, it'll show up on tons of stuff. They usually portray it with the unicorn or the lion or the dragon or all three. Sometimes the double-headed eagle. But it's in a shield.
Reminds me of that Spooky Hollow story. You know, the headless horseman.
Yeah.
It's kind of that. It's that same. It's the same motif. You know, like the headless horseman. That's like this all-powerful being. You know, the whole thing.
Yeah, but like in the headless horseman, he's like missing his head. This would be like the reciprocal aspect where like it's just the head.
It's just the head. Oh yeah, so they're like sister stories.
Exactly. So that's an explanation where that head went.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The head took off and made his own story.
Yep.
You know, it's fascinating to look at some of like the early Christian adoptions of these stories, you know, and then like kind of tying them to UFO lore. Like it's really cool to do that, and I don't think a lot of people do that. I think it has happened, obviously, but it's fascinating because, you know, what did ancient Greece and Rome and those guys take away from ancient Egypt and those ancient Eastern mythos, right? Ancient Phoenicians and stuff. Everything. Like it was almost all completely syncretically taken over. And so if there was some extraterrestrial information that they gathered and that the higher ups gathered, then they slowly like incorporated into these, you know, the Christian stories as they're writing and making these stories to, you know, use it for controlling purposes and what have you, and making people's visions and apparitions, you know, which might be extraterrestrial or just even terrestrial here on Earth and energy. I think that's something to think about, you know, because, you know, if in ancient Egypt, like they, you know, some people speculate that they were clearly in touch with that source and that they were working with that source, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then I'm also on board with that, you know, maybe it didn't take aliens to build this stuff and that we did build it on our own. Like, who fucking knows, man? But what's your guys' take on that?
You guys familiar with Phil Schneider?
No.
Phil Schneider, man, he was a geologist, and he worked with the government, particularly like government building secret bases. And his testimony before he was assassinated in a hospital was that they've been killing all of his friends. But what happened was he was down there and he was building a secret underground base. I think he might have been working on La Dolce base or something similar to that. And they made this big tunnel, and the drill augers kept coming back up, broken up. And they were like, what is down there that we're hitting that's breaking these drills? So they sent some people down there to look. And what happened was when they went down there, they saw these green men with big eyes. Then he said they smelled putridly and they looked like aliens or some kind of reptilians. and they started to send electrical beams and killed a few of the people that he was with. And then Phil Schneider got out his pistol and started shooting at them. He said he took one of them out. They shot a beam at him, and the beam hit him and blew off his toes and a couple of his fingers and like melted him.
Oh shit.
Yeah. But I think after that situation, they ended up gaining some higher tech from whatever those beings were. And he continued along working with them. And they had these devices that would, what he called rock flagellation and vitrification. So they could, instead of using drills, they started to like melt the stone with these, I guess, like laser beam like technologies. They were able to go through like an entire mile of stone in like a day or a week or something. It's ridiculous. And he said that they built over 131 deep underground military bases, also known as the DUMBs.
Yeah.
That was back in 1996 before he was assassinated. But he's testified that there is high technology the government uses to create these underground bases that's just not taught about to the public. My uncle he was in the Air Force as a lieutenant colonel, and he said that they have computers like the Iron Man computers where it's like a screen of like holograms that floats in the middle of the air, and they just can move stuff with their hands on these hologram screens.
Huh.
He says they have a lot of high tech, but until it's found out by the public or the enemy, they keep it secret.
Mm-hmm.
So it's until then that like by that time when that happens, they'll just release it to the public.
Yeah, I mean, after they've already used it for, I don't know, who knows, decades at that point, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, well, we're good. We're fuck it. Like, it's declassified now. They already figured it out, and we're done with it. So on to the next one. They don't know about all this other shit we got going on over here.
But like Marvel movies, I think Stan Lee was leaving a lot of hints at some stuff that goes on behind the scenes and some of that stuff. And a lot of people agree with that.
Yeah, Stan Lee was definitely, I mean, dude, I've yet to do any deep dives on him and that, but like, I totally agree. Like, it's just, insane. The connections he was pointing out, the connections to the elites and the occult and their worship for the Norse and northern religions and stuff. Like the capital of the United States has like this, like in the dome, in the rotunda, it's George Washington sitting on the Rainbow Bridge, clearly depicted, as Odin on the Rainbow Bridge. And so there's like that strange connection between like the Norse mythos and the elites that run this country and the Freemasons.
Absolutely. The Bifrost Bridge. Man, actually, Phil Schneider mentioned that he had either seen Thor or heard testimony of people that had witnessed Thor as like an otherworldly being, possibly reptilian, that lived underground. They said he was a massive giant, that he was maybe a hybrid, half human or something. And his testimony is wild, man. But
Thor is definitely Nephilim.
Directly from Norse in Marvel.
Dan, what's your take on that? Would Thor be considered a Nephilim half-breed?
I think, yeah, I guess so. He's a child of a god, so he'd be a Nephilim because the original gods were Titans, and the offspring. But I don't think that Thor would necessarily be a Nephilim because he is a son of a goddess mother and a god father. So he's not a hybrid of a god and a human woman.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily know that he would be a Nephilim, but Nephilim are also just like the sons. They're the demigods of the gods, but usually they're like they have a human mother. So I don't know.
I'm going to share one more with you, I'm going to share my next one with you guys. This one's not European. It's Japanese UFOs. So an old Japanese UFO art. You see this here?
Oh, this is a beautiful story too.
Oh,
you
sweet.
Tell the story?
I'm going to tell the story right here. So
excellent.
In 1803, a round vessel drifted ashore on the Japanese coast, and a beautiful woman emerged, wearing strange clothing and carrying a box. She was unable to communicate with the locals, and her craft was marked with mysterious writing. The story of the Utsorobun, or the Hollow Ship, in the province of Hitachi, is found on many records of the Edo period in 1603 to 1868. Wow, that's fascinating. And Tanaka Kazuo, professor emeritus at Gifu University, has studied the topic for many years. And what drew him away from his main research area, applied optics, to investigate this curious episode and what really took place. Like a flying saucer, Tanaka says he began to research the ship after a deadly subway sarin attacks in 1995 by the Aum Shrinko cult. There was a lot of coverage of Aum founder Asahara Shoko's prophecies and claims to be able to float in the air. Yet the cult's senior members were a part of a scientific elite. I started giving lectures and considering paranormal phenomena from a scientific perspective, which meant that I was collecting all kinds of materials for teaching, such as about UFOs in the United States and Japanese folklore. While doing so, I came across the Utsorobun legend. He adds, long before the American UFO stories, the craft depicted in the Edo period Japanese documents for some reason looked like a flying saucer, and that was fascinating to me. UFOs became a modern sensation after the media reported U.S. businessman Kenneth Arnold as having witnessed flying saucers on June 24th, 1947. A flood of similar stories followed from around the world. Most famously, a UFO was alleged to have crashed around the ground near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, July. In the testament of witnesses, it was the same with all other UFO stories from around the world. They were mysterious without any substantial evidence. The Utsorobun legend, however, has a number of documents to examine as leads. So, in this sense, for researchers, it's a mystery with substance. There are similar oral traditions about hollow ships across Japan in the Edo period. Tanaka's research is focused on the various documents that describe the 1803 incident in Hitachi and include illustrations of a beautiful woman and a strange vessel. Although they cite different dates, one of the best known sources is the Tone Stories, an 1825 collection of recording fantastic rumors, which was written in the Tonkai Literary Circle and edited by the Kyokuchi Bakin, famous for his lengthy historical romance. So, here's another depiction of it. What's interesting about this is, well, one, we're talking about apparitions of Mary, right? Which is interesting in UFOs, making that connection here. But what you hear about the tall whites as part of an alien breed here. Look at these kind of glyphs. Those are super sick. But yeah, you hear of like the beautiful woman that eludes from UFO sightings. Like that's a thing. When we spoke with Chris Bledsoe, or was it Ryan Bledsoe?
Ryan.
When we spoke with Ryan Bledsoe, one of his stories was that one of his family members experienced this woman like almost trampling him in the woods. And there was like, I think she turned into like an albino deer or something. And so this story, which goes back hundreds of years in ancient Japan, tells the same thing as a beautiful woman. And there's multiple shows, like sci-fi shows, that kind of determine or depict what how they might introduce themselves to us. Is they have their shape, they have their form, but they will wear some sort of skin suit to look familiar and recognizable to us, so that we don't freak out, because one, we're already witnessing a flying ship, right? We're already witnessing that crazy shit. So if like they come out looking like, like a reptilian, then we're just gonna freak out completely. But they need to be recognizable to us in some form. So a beautiful woman could be that shape and form. I mean, that's differentiating reality.
Non-threatening.
Is hard. Yeah, non-threatening. Exactly. I mean, to some people, how some ladies get. You know what I'm saying, bro? No, I'm just kidding. Oy. But yeah, man. I mean, okay, I got one more, real quick, since we're on a roll here. Let me do this. Let me find it also. Oh, The Guardian. What's that? Weigers. Goodness. I think this is it. Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay. So this has zero context. Besides that, it was made in the very early 20th century from Mexico. It doesn't have a date, but it's in Cochiti Pueblo, New Mexico. And if you look at the description, rain clouds, birds, mountains, house with cars on top of a burial site, skulls and broken pottery. Okay, let's find the rain clouds and the birds, everybody. Where are the rain clouds? Oh, are these the rain clouds? And are these the birds? 4 bird per rain cloud, huh? Yeah. On top of a burial site. Interesting. A sacred site. High, heavy electromagnetic energy from the ancient indigenous cultures. Oh, strange. And there's these rain clouds that form. Maybe they were terraforming their weather. Or, since this is New Mexico, in the early 20th century, before 1947, maybe this is home to a place that was already experiencing heavy UFO activity.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's weird that they have like a checkered pattern on the bottom of the rain clouds.
Yeah.
Freemasonry. Never seen a rain cloud like that.
And birds, they're just chilling.
Yeah, they don't really look like
those
birds.
ain't no birds.
No. This is very clearly depicting, in my opinion, and this is a bowl too. That's why it's shaped like this. This is the inside of a bowl.
It looks like a dinosaur head down there in the left part too. The left.
But they also have checkers on the bottom of the UFOs as well.
Or a dragon,
a human
or
skull, and like a dinosaur
lizard.
skull.
Yeah.
Did you mean that they have, and you've seen UFOs with checkered patterns on the bottom before?
No, but these ones have it. But they're like
these ones,
checkers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I found this. I can't even remember where I found this. I found this on this other.
Well, the whole outer rim too is checkerboard pattern.
I don't know.
It almost looks like it's trying to convey lights.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, and this is the
energy
these here. Yeah, this is energy. It's all of this is energy signs. Okay, white, black, white, black, white, black. These are electric bolts, right? And then this is like, hey, we're flying.
Thunderbolts.
So, then you have like the Thunderbird connection to the
past. The cars are all broken down apparently too, because all the hoods are up, so they're not really moving anymore. So maybe they're experiencing electrical phenomenon and their cars got stuck. That's kind of something that gets reported in UFO stuff too. The cars lose power, they get stuck, and then they try to fix their car, and then get taken. Because there's no people in the cars, no people around.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so, I mean, it's super interesting. Just one of the many.
Oh, look at those pictures.
Oh, I can figure what?
Scurry.
Security.
There it is.
So this kind of talks about what you were talking about earlier before we started recording, Indy.
Here we go.
Aborigines, yeah.
This is not aliens.
In the dream time.
This is Caucasian people with red hair.
Oh, they do have red hair.
Why'd they scream?
Back to the shining ones. They're not screaming. They have their mouth open. They're talking.
But what if the shining ones? They say they say that there's a glow. There's a specific glow that the extraterrestrials might have. What if they're not Caucasian in the sense that we understand, but they're glowing? They have a specific glow.
Maybe they're radiated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that two of them have hair, but no, the Aborigines would
Yeah.
talk to these spirits in the dream time that are in another dimension, come from another dimension.
Yeah, that's
Deep
Another
Enemies.
dimension.
Pakal.
Another dimension.
Pakal. Yeah, King Pakal
Yeah.
and his flying rocket contraption. That's on a coffin in Mexico.
Pointing at the lights in the sky.
There's 6 of them though. There's a weird big fish down below too, so maybe it's underwater.
Prometheus.
What? Why did it take me to all this shit? I just wanted to see the photo larged. I don't know what the fuck, dude.
They're talking about that movie.
Oh, how are you scrolling?
Shit. So, okay, so I did want to talk about a little bit about this guy, Alexander Weigers. Alexander Weigers, born October 12th, 1901. He was a polymath Dutch-American artist who is best known as a sculptor, painter, printmaker, blacksmith, carpenter, philosopher, mechanical engineer, aerospace engineer, and author. Just, well known for only those things. But this is the guy that we were talking about earlier that sits in his Carmel Valley studio. So he moved to Carmel, California. And he actually has a pretty interesting life because so Weigers was born in Mojokerto, Dutch East Indies, where his Dutch parents, Albert and Johanna, owned and operated a sugar plantation and a hotel. Now, what I know about sugar plantations, it's not a pretty history. I'm not saying his parents were slave owners, but anyways, his mother taught literature in several languages at a high school in Surabaya, which is a Indonesian capital of East Java. Alex inherited his mother's linguistic talents, and his father's instilled a deep love of nature, design, and ecology into him as he accompanied his father on botanical explorations of Indonesia. So they're white people in Indonesia, yeah, owning things and running shit. In 1916, his prosperous parents sent him to the Netherlands to study. First, he attended a secondary school where, among other things, he studied the discipline of blacksmithing, which is pretty sweet, which he often referred to as the mothercraft of all civilization. I think Vulcan would agree. He graduated from Groningen Polytechnicum. Fuck. I'm not with the big words today, guys. In mechanical engineering and from a Dordrecht Vocational University in shipbuilding. Wow. Fucking Jesus, dude. It must be nice. He also briefly attended the Royal Academy of Art, The Hague. Just briefly attended the Royal Academy of Arts at The Hague. Weigers returned to Java in 1923. His fiancée, Jacobba Hutter, joined him from there in the Netherlands in 1924 when they married. Jacobba could not adjust to the tropical climate, and in November 1926, they immigrated to the United States to take residence in Seattle, of all places, where he was employed as a mechanical draftsman. In September 1928, Jacobba died during the stillbirth of their only child due to the hemorrhaging following a C-section. Devastated by the death of his wife, Weigers decided to abandon engineering for art. In July 1929, he took a class at the Art Institute of Seattle, where he learned how to sculpt. He created one of the most notable sculptures, Morning, that caught the attention of the world-renowned sculptor Lorado Taft, in which he won a scholarship to Lorado Taft Midway Studios in Chicago. Following that, he studied various aspects of art in the European centers that renowned the areas that interested him. Moving to California in the 1930s, he established a studio in Berkeley and began teaching. Alex was naturalized as a U.S. citizen in 1934. In 1942, he entered the U.S. Army, and his command of Malay, Dutch, Italian, German, and English led to his assignment and intelligence operations. He received a patent from the U.S. Patent Office for his disc copter in 1944. Now, this is where it gets fucking interesting, y'all, because not only did he enter the patent for the disc copter in 1944, when Roswell happened in 1947, when you look at what the discopter is, the discopter was a vertical liftoff aircraft that looked very much to what later would be termed as a flying saucer. He made numerous detailed drawings of the aircraft portrayed in various American cities, specifically San Francisco and Chicago. He sent these detailed plans to all branches of the U.S. military and was eventually told that they were intrigued by the concept and the design of the craft, but were not prepared at that time because the war effort superseded its development. However, he did indeed patent the design for the discopter in January 1944 with the U.S. Patent Office, and it served as the prototype for other similar aircraft that have been developed up to the present day. Now, oh shit, I stopped sharing and I wanted to show you guys what this actually looked like. Sorry, one sec. Let me get back there. This comment, aliens are so trans. It's hilarious. Bird dog, you one funny motherfucker, son. The Weigers Foundation. Yeah, they made a foundation after this guy. Come on. Yeah, so this is some of his art here. This is the discopter. So in his like utopia, you could tell what look at his utopian city. Discopters on top of every building. In 1944 or 1950, I guess.
It looks like it might tie back to the movie Metropolis. Have you guys seen that?
Yes, dude. Classic.
Yeah, the anime?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The anime was probably based off of the original silent film from the 30s. Have you seen that one, Rob?
Oh, my anime.
Yeah, of course, dude. No, Metropolis.
Yeah, man. He set a vision of the future for mankind that kind of started to create that future. And it was like highways and UFOs flying around, stuff that hadn't existed at the time, but then people started to embellish in that art and that style. And it became the society we have today. A lot of the technological advancements. Yeah, there's this Robot Bride. Great story, man.
Yeah, this is such a classic silent film, too. Hilarious.
Yeah, kind of propaganda film.
Look at this guy.
The underground slave race, liberated by that guy right there. That pale dude on the right over there.
Jack Parsons looking motherfucker.
One of the upper echelons. There's him trying to work at the dials.
Great movie. If you guys actually can watch, like some people just can't even watch silent films.
Yeah, they're different.
But if you can, man, like, yeah, Metropolis is a good one. That was it for that. Damn.
Yeah, they featured like skyscrapers that hadn't existed, things like that.
Go ahead, Dan.
Andy, did you have some articles too, or?
Yeah, I got a few articles, man. I wanted to mention a couple things. We mentioned the Aborigines earlier. And the Aboriginal Dreamtime story is very fascinating. Now, I got a little blurb here that says that they're dreaming the Dreamtime, or the dreaming of Australian Aboriginal people, represented a time when the ancestral spirits progressed over the land and created life in important physical, geographical formations and sites. The Aboriginal philosophy is known as dreaming and is based on the interrelation of all people and all things. But they would go into like a trance, and they said that there's these apparitions or these spirits that are existing all around us all the time, but we can't see them unless we go into these deep trances. And they showed pictures in that earlier image we had where they had like the two eyes and the wide open mouth and kind of a bald head.
Yeah.
Kind of look like a ghost, like today's ghost appearances that we see when people put a sheet over the head and draw 3 circles or something like that. Not that different from that. But that's quite fascinating, their story about how those beings appear to us, which kind of brings me to an article that I wanted to look at. There's the ayahuasca ceremony, and the shamans of the ayahuasca ceremonies use something called Icaros, which is known as a magical song. And those magical songs are spoken to the spirit of the plants. They speak and call out to the spirits of ayahuasca and tobacco and ask for a healing for the people from the spirits. And when they speak these songs, they commune with the spirits of the plants. And the visions that people get are usually integral to the visions, to the songs that are spoken, and the prayers that are asked of the plant spirits. But some anthropologists have said that they actually are talking to their ancestors who are always right here with us, but you have to go into a deep trance and purify your heart, open your inner mind, and you can then be in communication with these ancestral spirits. And they were under the impression that these magical songs, are actually something that they're hearing from the spirits of the forest, and they're singing back to the people to provide them the healing that they need, giving them the visions that they see. And I've actually been witness to this firsthand in a mestizo ceremony, which is an ethnogenic culture. They're integrating Incan and Peruvian shamanism with some modern day spirit guides. And they were actually to open up some portals to these higher spirit guides that guided us. And I was actually able to commune with the great spider. A lot of people see animal and plant spirits, commune with them. A lot of times a snake will appear, a snake spirit, a giant snake. But I was able to commune with the great spider that taught me about how to connect with the web of life, but suggested to me that my arrogance can get me tangled up in that very web and consumed by the spider. The great spider will consume those who don't have compassion in their hearts.
Ooh. It's pretty heavy, but I love it.
Yeah, but it was kind of what I was asking
love
for.
it.
I wanted to get some guidance, like where am I at? What can I do to improve? What are some of the things that I don't see, that I'm oblivious to, that I need to work on? And it was kind of shown to me that I need to work on being more open to other ideals and other worldviews, and not trampling over other people's vision of the world by trying to impose my own on them, trying to learn from them and be more open and connecting me to them, instead of pushing people away by trying to impose my own views on them. So I find that we can all, like we do in the show, kind of try to come up with answers to a question. We can all agree that there's questions we want to find answers to, and we can all be open to the fact that, our thoughts about it might just be part of the answer. We need to come to a consensus amongst each other to kind of find a better perspective. So it was a very helpful experience. Although it was kind of tricky. It was kind of rough.
Yeah, hard to process in the moment, or did it take you some time to really come to terms with it?
Integration took a few weeks. I'm still working on it now, but
yeah,
it's good. It's good progress, spiritual progress.
Beautiful. Dan, you creeped up to the mic, man.
Oh,
I saw you.
I got some more articles if you guys want me to go into some stuff.
Do you have some stuff to screen share? Do you want to pull up anything? I like looking at things.
I was gonna say shout out to Morgan in the chats. What's up, babe?
Shout out. It's my middle name right there.
Is it?
Yeah, Morgan. That was actually named after my dad's friend's best friend's son. He was named after the car. His sister named Mercedes. His name is Morgan, after the British car, the big fenders, old school. And then I got the middle name, like Captain Morgan, but I'm named after the car. So.
Yeah, if you got more, I have one last article that I think will tie everything together really well.
Cool.
So
I want to go into this.
Keep it going.
The raided Inca tombs. Story of Machu Picchu. Grave robbing is at its best an unholy venture, wrote geologist and Yale University professor George Eaton, who was in a position to know. A year after his colleague, Hiram Bingham, became the first Westerner to uncover Peru's lost city of Machu Picchu, Eaton helped a second Yale expedition unearth 52 ancient Inca graves in 1912. That August, Eaton and two local Quechuan guides opened their 26th grave finding a female skeleton with knees pressed to the chest. Eaton thought it was the body of a priestess, and his unnerved local helpers must have agreed. Soon afterwards, one of them did not show up for work, citing pain in his testicles. Then the second man disappeared. The fact that the people of Machu Picchu were helping dig up their dead ancestors led them to believe that they were cursed. Mark Adams, author of Turn Right at Machu Picchu, told Life magazine, at the very least, it meant that whatever spiritual significance the remains might have had was gone. Inexplicably abandoned by the Inca 4 centuries ago, Machu Picchu was the most famous architectural ruin in the West, and it is also one of the most mysterious, a fact that has fueled more than a few theories, from the scholarly to the superstitious. Was it a defensive stronghold or a royal retreat? Was it built by space aliens, or is it gathering place for ghosts of Inca priests? But so-called curse may have been lifted. In 2012, Yale University returned to the last batch of artifacts that had been stolen from Peru nearly 100 years before. So that's an interesting speculation on like the ins and outs of the Machu Picchu haunted graves. Interpreting that they might be from, higher beings or possibly ghosts of the priests and the priestesses that still haunt those graves and tombs. But people started to disappear, man.
Yeah.
Anomalously.
That's crazy. Interesting. There's always like a lady in white story in the ghost stories too, of this haunting lady in white. That kind of there's one here in Adelaide, which is really close by to me, and there's a place called like Chimney Rock and stuff, and the lady in white haunts this grave where her children are buried, and people have talked that you can see the lady in white at a certain time at night that haunts this grave, and it's like one of the top 10 most haunted places in America. I've never gone there because I try to stay away from that shit, but interesting, there's always a haunted lady in white, and when we talk about these apparitions, they often refer to them too as like a lady in white. So it's weird that one has like a good connotation and one has like a haunting evil connotation. So there's another aspect maybe to these apparitions.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It kind of reminds me of the story of the white buffalo lady, the Native American legend.
Yeah, see? Lots of white ladies, dude.
Yep, she glowed white. And she was very divine. She had high powers, but she taught some of the men a lesson that kind of looked at her objectively and kind of like wanted to smooth up on her. She taught them a lesson of their arrogance and kind of pushed them back and kind of set them down a little bit. But she had a lesson to respect the mothers and the daughters and the women of their tribe. And she's used in a lot of sweat lodge ceremonies. They pray to the buffalo spirit and the great mother.
Solid stone or some ancient type of stone powder cement mixture.
Well, I wanted to wrap.
I've wondered about that too.
There's a lot of look at the patents. It's very, very specific mixture for a lot of the ancient cement, and that's why the Freemasons are held at high regards for their skill and their craft, and a lot of that goes back to ancient Egypt, and using the same type of like mixtures that they made and for the pyramids. And a large part of it is having the type of conductive materials that are used to harness electricity, right? Or when they would build on top of sacred sites, the electromagnetic energy that would emanate from the earth to hold that type of energy. So it's a very specific and special mixture. I mean, it's kind of like you need to be high up in like the esoteric occult to like really know what the true recipes are. But like, we've heard things about blood bones. You know, of some of these places. So, you know, who knows? It's all very interesting. But yes,
there was an ancient Roman cement that had like a special recipe that was very strong. Also, I think they talk about. And then I would say shout out to Bushwhacking Buffalo, who on his channel he showed a video of this kind of bricklaying style where you put like the mud into a bag and you're able to slap it down basically, and it kind of takes the form, and then when it dries it hardens into a stone. So when we see some of these other stones that have these weird shapes and they're all interlocking, perhaps maybe they're using some type of cement where they would put it into a bag or something malleable and then contort it to the shape that they wanted and then stack another one on top of it, and then it was like molding to that shape. That's why you get such you can't fit a piece of paper through it and whatnot, they say. So perhaps they were using this other fashion of creating these walls with this type of style. So maybe they weren't just transporting huge blocks as people think. Maybe they were
building as they go.
Cement. Yeah,
That makes
pouring and folding. Yeah,
but then there's also, you know, quarries where we see them taking big ass pieces of stone from quarries. So how, you know, it's one or the other, or maybe it's both. Maybe the one from the quarries where they were trying to get obelisks out of one big stone or whatever, but they're still having to transport that, and that's still heavy. So it's hard to say whether or not they were using these types of modalities or not using them.
The other thing too is that the stories are that the Nile would flood a lot more than it does now, and it would flood, and they would use the flooding water to move stuff around, like building like floating apparatuses or something like that. Some people speculate that the Nile would flood and completely cover the pyramid, and the pyramids would be completely covered often. But that just seems like such a stretch to me. But I mean, that's something that I have heard. I don't fucking know. But we do know that the Nile did flood, and ancient Egypt did flood, and it would flood consistently and concurrently. And then building the canalways underneath too. I mean, this is a whole thing. I mean, I didn't realize we're gonna be getting into this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of prep work that I would like to come out with this, but I think to answer the question, yes, very special cement mixtures that go high up into the esoteric echelons.
Yeah, that makes me think of the Romans actually had underwater concrete that they used up until their defeat in like around the 300s AD. At which point they lost their underwater concrete up until about 1,000 years later when they rediscovered it.
What do you mean underwater concrete?
Underwater concrete. They actually farmed salmon back like around the 4th century AD with underwater concrete that they would build up, and then they'd let the water go in to the formation and put the salmon in there so that they couldn't get out past the concrete walls.
Okay. So building pools, kind of building like pools.
Yeah.
Okay. A real quick, just for everybody, I love to do this, just, you know, shameless plugs. But if you guys want to smell like the redwood forest and the true forest, I have incense, hand-rolled incense that I started selling at the farmer's market. Even my boy Bird Dog, shout out to Bird Dog. He bought a box from me of incense, and I'm making hydrosols and essential oil sprays, so you guys can smell like that. Smell like that. Whatever you want to smell like, we got you. Okay, over at Moth Mountain Botanicals, baby. Don't even be afraid. It's just essential oils in distilled water, so you spray it right in your face. It's a skin tonic. It relaxes your blood vessels in your face, so you just be chilling. Motherfuckers be like, dude, are you stoned? Like, no, bro. I'm on some lavender, son. What you know about that? They're like, what? Lavender? Where'd you get that? Be like, my boy homie Romeo over at Moth Mountain Botanicals, son. So yeah, if you guys want some handmade incense, hit me up via email. I'll send you a box.
I want some of that. Is it the pine pitch one you were talking about before?
Yep.
I want to check some of that out, man, for sure. I'm gonna hit you
Dude,
up.
I this isn't one of the ones I sold out of this weekend where I will definitely hook you up, sir. But I was crushing flowers and rolling them into flowers.
Whoa.
And they're so pretty that like people were like, I just want those. I was like, oh, but what about these ones? Like these would smell good too. Like, no, I just want the flowers. And yeah, I'm like, okay, well, so I like these. This is made with tree bark. It's made with redwood bark, chamomile flower, mugwort, and wood powder charcoal. And it smells so good. It smells like the forest. But people like the flowers, and that's fine. People can like whatever they like. I'm here to do it. But I want to hook all the homies up, and just another quick thing. Like incense are very, very old, thousands of years old. They go all the way back. So when you guys are out here buying your frankincense, your Palo Santo, and all that, the thing is that it's very unsustainably harvested, and these crops are not going to last forever. Actually, there's rumor that there hasn't been a new frankincense tree planted in 50 years because they're not growing anymore. So we're ripping out the frankincense forest, especially when you buy essential oils. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, as a guy who fucking is starting to make them, it takes so much plant material to make essential oils. Stop buying essential oils from companies that you don't know what the fuck they're doing, because likely is that they're filled with pesticides, they're unsustainably harvested, and it's just, you want to try to buy as ethically as possible. So, just try to, if you're going to buy frankincense or Palo Santo or things like that, try to get it from the best mom and pop shop that you can, or just look at what type of incense woods grow naturally near you. Now, here in the States, we have so many smelly woods that it's spiritually connected to the indigenous cultures here. They held the cedar tree at a very high regard. The cedar, it's the one that seeds. It's the cedar tree, the seed. And the pine tree as well, the pine cone, the pine tree, the pineal gland. These are very, very sacred and special spiritual trees. So that's kind of what I want to do with Moth Mountain is, bring back, frankincense and myrrh and all that stuff is great. But we don't live in the Middle East. We live here in old Atlantis and Lemuria. Okay. So it's all about the pine, baby. And I'm done. Please, someone else. Cheers.
All right, man. I got a couple more short articles. Dan, you said you had something you're going to bring everything together with. I got two articles here. You could do yours first if you want. What do you think?
Go for it. Run them. Run them,
cool.
And I'll finish with this one.
The heavens and the hell of Chichen Itza. In the so-called Dresden Codex, one of the 4 extant pre-Columbian Mayan manuscripts, you will find hieroglyphic divination calendars, descriptions of New Year's ceremonies, and its instructions on how to find the local rain god, Chak. The codex was created sometime between 1200 AD and 1250 AD by the astronomer priests who spent dark hours observing the heavens from the observatory in Chichen Itza in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Dubbed El Caracal, the snail, the observatory is where most hauntings in the modern Chichen Itza are said to occur. As I strolled down the corridor, I saw a man eyeing me, one tourist is quoted in the International Directory of Haunted Places. He was angry about my being there. I sensed that he was not a priest or astronomer, but rather some kind of assistant. Odd, because the observatory was probably not a place of bloodshed, unlike the Great Ball Court, where the lethal game was played. The leader of its game was sacrificed. The leader of the losing team was sacrificed, and his severed skull used to mold the next ball. And recently, the skeletons of 6 sacrificed humans, including 2 children, were unearthed from the Chichen Itza Cenote Sangrado, a volcanic hole leading to an underground water source. The cenote may have been considered a portal to Xibalba, the Mayan underworld, where Chalk lived. The major urban center size 750 AD or so. Chichen Itza probably began to decline around 1000 AD. Arriving in the 1500s, the Spanish conquistadors destroyed most of the codices, damning them to the devil's books. But thanks to the Dresden Codex, directions to Chalk's domain survived, along with perhaps the spirits of the ancient astronomers.
Wow.
So that's pretty wild. They got maps to the underworld over there.
What's the geographic location of that?
It's on the Yucatan Peninsula, Chichen Itza, and they're talking about
Yucatan is like kitty corner to Florida in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yep.
There we go, baby.
Now, the second one I got is a small article. It's called "Where Gods Are Made in Teotihuacan." About 30 miles outside of Mexico City lie the ruins of pre-Columbian Teotihuacan, once one of the largest and most influential cities of the world. Built between the 1st and 7th centuries, no one is sure by whom or why the civilization mostly disappeared after 750, possibly after an all-consuming fire. When the Aztecs rediscovered the abandoned spot in early 14th century, they were stunned by its grandeur, calling it the place where the gods are made, or the city of gods. But it was also a city of death, filled with the evidence of human and animal sacrifice, clearly marking it as a spot of both brutal and sacred significance. Some of the mysteries are not exactly supernatural. Gold-colored spheres were discovered in a hidden tunnel beneath the temple of the feathered serpent in 2013, and liquid mercury that may indicate the presence of a tomb was found in 2015. But the few visitors claim to have seen ghosts. Others have spotted, and perhaps inevitable, if undocumented, UFOs over the pyramid. Check out videos on YouTube. Purplish, smoky streaks have appeared in the photos. Go ahead, blame Instagram filters or balloons. But since this place remains a mystery, why should its photographs be any different? That's what
I'm glad that the liquid mercury is it's staying alive, staying afloat, because it did kind of just like pop up in the history circles, like a few years ago when in the pyramid of the sun, or Quetzalcoatl, the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, when they said they found the mercury under there.
Chamber.
And yeah, well, they have it. And what I was going to say is that it kind of opened up that now they're saying that there are mercury underneath all these pyramids in ancient China as well. Egypt, China, South America. So yeah, this is connecting that single source, or that single unanimous culture that was kind of doing that. Like, I love that is staying. Because a lot of things will fizzle out, like we'll talk about it and then it just fizzles out. But the liquid mercury is here to stay. You bet your sweet fucking tater tots it's here to stay.
Absolutely. And you guys heard about the Die Glocke, the bell that the Nazis were building?
Yeah.
The Nazi bell Vimana kind of thing.
Yeah, the records say that they use liquid mercury as part of the propulsion of the craft.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mercury is the
motors.
Messenger.
Liquid magnetism.
There we go. So Dan, you said you wanted to close it out with your article?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? But before we do that, let me get up on one, and this will be my final
another
one.
Ad. Okay.
No, but so because you wanted to see the Madonna one earlier, so kind of wanted to show this.
Well, you can show those pictures while I talk.
Well, this article is like, it kind of I lost it. I'm so sorry, guys. It's all of them. Oh, here we are.
Or also, I posted the ancientorigins.net human origins religious German night in the private chat right here. So if you want to click on that link so you can scroll through it while I say it, you can. Yeah, this is
is that the one you're gonna do? Oh yeah, let me.
Look, she has reddish hair.
She does actually. Yeah, it's like a golden red. This is like the most famous one. This is the one that was on Joe Rogan.
Ancient
But
Aliens is on there a lot.
yeah, exactly. So this is like the most famous. That's why I didn't want to do this one in the beginning, because it's like, okay, everybody's seen this one. But this site is cool. It's called Burning Blogger, if you guys want to check it out, or I'll post it in the chats. This is another cool one. This is like otherwise known as, oh shit, I forget the name of it, but acknowledgement of this mystery and how far back across human culture the UFO phenomenon appears to extend is a big deal. It in fact forces us to reevaluate our understanding of history, because these anomalies staring us in the face seem to confirm that the UFO mystery and even the flying saucer business is not a modern fascination linked to our technological age, and nor did it begin in the 1940s. Oh, that's right. That one's called The Crucifixion for some reason. This photo by the painter was called The Crucifixion.
Who's the painter? Does it say?
I couldn't find it, and this is but maybe this guy knows. I haven't actually read this full article. So there are several examples of ancient UFOs and religious paintings, including the paintings depicting the crucifixion. The most interesting about these items is that the artists are in question. We have to assume we're trying to incorporate subtle or coded messages into their works, and the question we have to ask is what the message is and why these artists bothered to incorporate them in the first place. I'm going to admit, in fact, that the first time I became aware of and interested in the strange business of various paintings, I did almost wonder if there was something very Mandela effect about this. And I did think that yesterday when I was looking this stuff up. What I mean by that is that the cultural reality or awareness of these specific paintings and their strange details didn't seem to exist until roughly a few years ago. Maybe it did and I just wasn't aware of it, but it certainly felt like one day these paintings didn't exist and were never talked about, and then all of a sudden they did exist and were being drawn attention to. If they always did exist, it's strange that they took so long to be noticed or to be talked about in these terms. And yes, I'm going to assume that they did always exist. I apologize for the tangent, but there honestly was a Mandela effect type feeling I had about these paintings. At first, that's all. A painting simply titled The Crucifixion by the unknown artist in 1350 seemingly depicts two UFOs with actual beings inside them. The objects are flying in the scene of Jesus' crucifixion. So, yeah, this is another famous one. This guy's like looking back. It's like being chased, right? That's kind of the scene. Is like, well, it's hermetic. It's hermetic as well.
Cryptic.
It's cryptic. Yeah, as fuck.
Triptych.
Oh,
It's got, like,
triptych.
yeah.
Oh, the 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Oh.
Holes in the center.
Uh-huh. I wish I could see this in like full size. It'd be really cool. The fact that this distinctly strange take on the crucifixion is attributed to an unknown artist makes it all more intriguing. And why is this artist anonymous? The detail of living beings clearly shown inside the flying objects is key. Without the pilots, we could argue that these objects were meant to be celestial phenomenon like comets or shooting stars. Or maybe they were meant to be angels, but angels are and were generally depicted as winged and never, so far as I know, being contained within objects. Unless we consider the halos. Of all the many depictions of angelic beings in religious paintings, this seems to only be the one that depicts it in this way. It's possible, perhaps, that the artist is simply anthropomorphizing ideas like comets or stars by merging them with human or humanoid forms, but again, it looks very much like the beings are inside the objects and even flying them. As it is, we have to ask what the artist was trying to say here and why he included these very curious details in a depiction of Jesus' crucifixion. Are the pilots meant to be significant to the events of Jesus' crucifixion himself, or are they very simply passing by sheer chance? So just really, really quickly, again, just like looking at this photo.
About Jesus' crucifixion, also 3 Marys show up to visit Jesus. Mary, his
3
mother, Mary,
Marys
aunt,
from the
Mary,
ship.
And the third Mary is his wife, girlfriend, other Mary, Mary Magdalene. So
I'm wondering if the word Mary itself could even mean like it could be this magnificent, like, you know, these Marian apparitions that we're talking about, and Marys, and, you know, the word itself not being a name for a person, but being a name for an entity.
The name actually comes from Miriam back
Yeah.
in the times of the Hebrews.
Yeah, Mar.
Interesting. Miriam,
Miriam.
they fly in the air. So really quick, this one is called The Baptism of Christ by Eretz D. Gelder, who is an interesting character, and I have his page right after this, and then when I'm done, I swear to God. You can definitely see what is like an otherworldly craft shining its light down on the Jesus figure.
Yeah,
How's this one?
This is a good one.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sundisk.
yeah, straight up. So that's a pretty good one, and I wanted to look a little bit deeper into this guy.
On
be
Ancient Aliens,
ahead.
they kind of refer to like the sun disk, like in Egypt of Akhenaten, as maybe him worshiping UFOs and stuff like that, because they saw this shiny object in the sky, and it was, they're the gods now, and now we need to recognize that these are the gods, type of thing. But the sun disk holds many different mysteries, so who knows? That's just one idea.
Well, you know, it. Oh, go ahead.
Miriam actually means of the sea.
Huh?
So
Holy shit! Mermaid,
origins.
Mary, mermaid, Miriam. Holy fuck!
Yep.
That's a big.
life
No,
came
that's
from the sea.
big. That's fucking huge. Actually, like thinking about it, like that's fucking massive. Virgin Mary births the homunculus Jesus from the sea.
Think about also when we're talking about Sumerian and Marduk. Marduk in like the Zacharias Sitchin is the 10th planet that comes into contact, that breaks apart Tiamat and creates the asteroid belt and the planet, and Earth becomes Earth from Tiamat. And I think that Planet X is like a watery planet also.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So hence why Marduk's name is Marduk, or that planet is called Marduk, because the Mar has the association to that female aspect of the waters.
And there's a red and a blue aspect to that. You know about Kachina Red and Kachina Blue, the Native American name for Nibiru? They say that the main planet or brown dwarf star is red, and then it has a satellite that's blue that orbits around it of water.
Mm-hmm.
And does it like
Got both
deposit
aspects.
water to the planet?
Yeah, well, actually, that planet is said to capture moons and then send them hurling at other planets and then merging with them.
That's
Sometimes.
awesome.
Yep.
Wow.
Like a catapult.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly like a catapult, Dan. Okay, so but really quick
Catastrophes.
too, also I wanted to say that on the Sundisk note, the magic mirrors of ancient China, where they weren't mirrors at all doing reflections, but they were more like holographic sun disk, in the sense that like they would do such light, fine, detailed carving on the back of these mirrors that when the sun would hit it, it actually reflects the image that's on the back of the mirror onto a surface. But the thing is that
ancient Instagram filters.
Yeah, straight up real filters. But the thing is that you couldn't see the etching on the other side. That's what made it magic. Is that it was such a fine, detailed carving on the back that you couldn't see the carving. And it wasn't until hundreds of years later over in Europe that they discovered that there was etchings on the back. They're like, dude, this is fucking carved, and that's how the light reflects through and makes this hologram or whatever. So like, who knows if that was a homage to a sun disk type of like UFO flying saucer as well. Like, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. But that artist that did that one we were just looking at, sorry, here, I'm just trying to find it. This one, his name is His name is literally Art. Art de Gelder. De Gelder was born in whatever. I'm not going to go through this guy's whole fucking story, but he was just painting his whole life and super famous, and it's honestly super good. Like this is pretty good paintings.
All right.
Anyways, yes, I am ready, baby. I'm gonna pull up your article, so get to reading, and I'll have it up in the background here.
All right, this is called The Curious Apparitions of Pagan Goddesses to the German Knights Templar. It's on ancientorigins.net. The Untersberg is a great mountain straddling the Austro-German border opposite Salzburg. It is reputed in local legend to be the seat of god Wotan and to be haunted. The Knights Templar of the region had their headquarters in Vienna, and before the year 1222, never had a Komturri, a command post near the mountain. The commander of a section, returning from the Crusades in Austria in 1220, received an apparition believed to be of the demigoddess Isis at Nineveh, Old Babylon. I'm going to call her Isis, who introduced him to proceed to the Untensberg and erect a temple in her honor inside it. There she would address them frequently, which she did from 1226. A written record was kept at the Isis Revelation, a complete religious treatise, was compounded and delivered to Vienna in 1238. Acting upon her instructions in 1235 at Carthage, 2 German Templars received an apparition of the goddess Ishtar, who gave further instructions for the order to follow. The revelations of the deities Isis and Ishtar were translated into modern German in 1862 and copies kept. A summary of these forms the content of this article. Let me scroll down. The appearance of Isis to the German knights, sometimes in the year 1220, the German Templar and commander Hubertus Koch, returning to Austria from the Crusades with a small company, arrived at the ruins of the former Assyrian capital Nineveh in ancient Babylon. Here he reports being approached by an apparition of the demigoddess Isis, a graceful maiden-like figure of a girl whose copper-colored hair waved if in a breeze, although the day was actually windless. She gave Koch instructions to proceed to the mountain of the old god Wotan. That is the Untensberg near Salzburg. Build a house there and await her next apparition, where she would give important information regarding a new golden age for the world.
Can I just
in
poke in here real quick?
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so we were talking earlier about like building the sacred sites, building the churches and stuff on top of the sacred sites. To see apparitions.
Yeah.
Fuck. And then having altars to that, it'd be like, okay, hey, we saw something here, build this, put the altar here, make the steeples, put the sacred geometry in it, and then do the thing until they come back. Like, oh shit, man, this is tight. Keep going.
In 1221, Koch reached the mountain and set up his first command house. Wall sockets of this structure can still be seen at Marktschellen. A second structure was built higher up, but exactly where is unknown. It was probably enlarged around the year 1230 and made accessible through a number of caves, in which one was installed the temple to Isis. The first testified apparition of Isis was Uttensberg, occurred in the year 1226 and repeated regularly over the next 12 years. Isis delivering the full 134 verses of her revelation by 1238. The supposed purpose of Isis was to help achieve the destruction of the powers of darkness in the heavens and on earth, and as a first step, the world had to be rid of the Church of Rome since it worshipped Jehovah as God Almighty. So we have a reverse of Mary and the church, right? Now we have Isis, which is spelled Isais, Isis, but I'm guessing it's the same thing. It's equating it with Ishtar also, so most likely the same. But it's a reverse. It's saying the world had to rid itself of the Church of Rome. So it's kind of interesting that it has this, because we were talking about earlier about the, why would the church be doing these apparitions? It doesn't really fit into their kind of their religious history as like hell, hell, opening a gate to hell and whatnot.
Well, maybe when you think about the time of the year that a lot of these things are going down, if it is in fact between the sun descendant time, like going into the fall and then into the winter, the whole talk of like the ghost of Christmas past, or like Christmas in general.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
A goddess gifts. The prophetess Isis corresponds to the Assyrian Isai, who in Old New Assyria appeared in apparitions to the royal house. In the autumn of 1226, she gave the German knights 3 gifts: the looking glass of Ishtar, Freya, the finely worked head of Odin's spear, both to be held ready for use at the 8-sided black purple stone or crystal Ilua. 8-sided.
Whoa.
The most valuable and important of her gifts, which had to always be kept wrapped in tresses of her hair. Woman's hair binds magical powers, verse 51.
I love
and
that.
Maintained in the Untersberg mountain. The purpose of these 3 items had to remain secret, and from that time on, Hubertus Koch, cadre of Templar Knights, was known in relevant circles, though not officially, as the Lords of the Black Stone, and formed a secret scientific section.
Dude.
I told you it's going to tie everything in, man.
No, I'm looking at these ads on this website. They're advertising me these bike shorts. I'm like, what, bro? I haven't even been looking up no bike shorts.
I thought it was the Blackstone thing.
Yeah,
the underlying
dark, man.
Yeah, the underlying the Marcionite heresy, the underlying basis of the Isaias revelation in the Marcionite heresy of the 2nd century AD. It denies that the Hebrew God of the Old Testament, always referred to in the Revelation as El Shaddai, was God of the New Testament. Isaiah states that it was Alvater, God himself, who descended in human form as the Christ, Jesus Christ, and was crucified by those who had come to reform. The goddess Ishtar is the intermediary for the Alvater, and Isaias is her secret aid, although Ishtar also hears all. Alvater speaks through carved runes. Ishtar and Isaias were both appointed in this way. Isaias states that she came from the celestial realms as daughter of the Toothgrot, Grok. This being the realm of the demons. These entities are not demons in the sense of the English words, but are independent of the gods and the most active enemies of the regions of darkness. Isaias had also been a daemon. Plutarch, The Mysteries of Isis, chapter 27, and achieved the rank of goddess by her virtue. Purgatory, the ear of, I don't know what that says. Irrevocable promise of eternal life is made to those who attain the kingdom of heaven. Mankind tied to the earth and mortal is untimely or ultimately immortal. The earthly death is the beginning. At death, people good and bad come to Grunland, purgatory, so called for its greenish light over which Isaias rules. Purgatory encloses all worlds. The stay in purgatory may last merely a few days or countless years. Once liberated, each being chooses a route he or she wishes to follow as a path to the heavenly realm. From purgatory, Isaias keeps watch on the earth and reads all thoughts occurring there. So then we have a cool picture right here. It's pretty interesting. The painting of an angel frees the souls of purgatory. Or the painting, an angel frees the souls of purgatory. That's what it's called. The time of Ishtar Isaias will come when the earth and the hearts of all its people shall enter the golden age, perhaps in 1,000 years. From the early 13th century before then, in the battles to come, Ishtar and Isaias, each in their own way, will lead the heroes. A few verses in her revelation show the erotic component of her nature. The bravest of Valhalla may remain at my side. To those of them who eschew peace and happiness, because in Grunland the battle will not yet have ended. I shall be not as a sister, but bride and spouse instead. On this subject, it is interesting to note that devotees are encouraged to make a bust of Isaias from wood, iron, or stone, and whoever kisses Isaias's neck, hair, or mouth will receive a kiss in return from her spirit. And this tradition can be continued with Ishtar when she takes over the office as Isaias. There is a fascinating innuendo here based on the sexuality, but not in the way that those of us raised in the Christian tradition can understand. At the center of purgatory is the glorious fortress of Valhalla, where dwell the warrior gods with their wives, the later presumably being the Valkyries of Nordic legend. Both Ishtar and Isaias have right of hospitality there. We are told by Isaias that the Woden rests at the foot of the Untensberg mountain, hidden deep in the rock until the hour when he will awaken to act in the word and deed, but no further explanation is given. We have another cool picture, the depiction of the Valkyries. Also within purgatory is Holumpuful, hell so called, a creation of the fallen angel Shaddai, who wages incessant war in his effort to enable himself and his devotees to take over heaven and the earth itself. At the final end, the earth and the starry firmament will disappear, leaving only the kingdoms of heaven and hell, and whichever of these finds himself at that time, he must remain there for eternity. Thus ends the Isaias revelation. The appearance of Ishtar. Marcion, 84 to 160 AD, was the son of a bishop and a shipowner around 135 AD in Rome. He developed an eccentric theological belief, his cult claiming most importantly that the Hebrew God Jehovah was neither the true God nor the Father of Jesus Christ. The popularity of this heresy forced the early Christian church to decide that the Old Testament should be part of its canon. None of the original Marcionite writings have survived. There's that word Mar again, by the way. Marcionite. The Bible's stone carving of the goddess Ishtar. Carthage was a center of early Christianity, the first archdiocese being established in the partially rebuilt city in the 2nd century. In the year 1235 AD, acting on information received no doubt from Isaias, the German Templar Knights Roderick and Emerent disembarked at Carthage in search of missing writings and the heretical Marcion. A hill named Birsa runs down to the sea, and within this hill was the grotto of the temple formerly dedicated to the city's queen goddess Tanit. In this grotto, the two Templar knights received an apparition of the goddess Ishtar. And check out this building. It kind of looks like the Metropolis one we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Where's the building?
Oh,
I'm
Roman,
slacking.
are you
Hold
scrolling
on.
down?
I'm slacking. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. I was really fascinated by wait, this one?
She got the bird feet.
It says depiction of ancient Carthage from the Carthage Museum. It's a little bit past.
Oh, here we go. Oh, here we are with the discopters right here, right? From that one.
yeah.
Mhm.
Landing site.
Actually, almost. Yeah. Sick.
In this account, the German knight Roderick reported the apparition was a figure clothed in a breath-fine dress of shimmering green, such that one could perceive the outline of a tall female, slim and supple, shining through it. She was a wonderful being, half woman and half girl, and undoubtedly not of this world. Her beautiful face was narrow and pallid and absolutely wonderful. Her eyes, hair, and fingernails shone with the color of amber. A golden tiara held back the masses of her hair, which reached to the ground, and on top of the tiara was a golden crescent moon with points like horns, and at its center a golden sun. Her unhumanly large eyes stared at us, her lips seemed to be growing, and she was the most beautiful picture that a person ever saw, but she was translucent and not of humankind. She said, I called you here without you being aware of it. At which Roderick asked for her identity. She answered at once, I say, Ishtar. The folk who revered me in this place called me Asherah. The people in the north who were your ancestors knew me as Idun or Idun. Different peoples name me as suited their own language. The German knight Emirant said that they were both true to the Lord Jesus Christ and would never worship another deity. Ishtar apparently amused replied, I heard your prayers to him, to my godlike brother, but he is in his realm while I, his godlike sister, am here again for a short while. For ultimately it is a female power which will defeat Jehovah, Satan. The goddess of love will change into a goddess of war to strike down Satan when the moment comes.
You're done, Satan. Get out of here.
She continued, you will find not far from this place an ancient stone which bears the sign of my divinity and the symbol of the hand in greeting. Beneath this stone, you will discover that which you came here to find, and you will find that the legacy of my divine brother differs greatly from what you have been given to understand in very many things. Nearby, outside the old city boundaries, was a cemetery known as the Sanctuary of Tanit, an enclosure for placing short and upright stone stelae for funeral purposes. The goddess Ishtar stated next, I had been appointed the deity for Babylon by the Godhead. The Babylonians were an excellent people, but the settlement of a huge Hebrew minority in their midst ruined the plan to make Babylon the world capital. Ishtar explained that a people closest in character to the Babylonians, the Germanian, including all the Franks and German descent, had been chosen to build a new capital over a secret temple in which all your knowledge is to be deposited. Thus,
Classic.
Berlin Tempelhof was founded in 1237, and the new Templar realm was to extend south from Berlin to Vienna and as far west as Paris. The church got wind of this planning, preempted the great work, and on October 13th, 1307, put down the Templar order. Put down the Templar order with great brutality.
Oh, that's the classic Friday the 13th story. Yeah. Dude,
20th century.
So what do we have? What do we have here? Yet again, syncretism, of building the temple on top of another temple, a sacred site, continuous. Destroy, rebuild. Hilarious, man.
This is the last part right here. 20th century updates. Exactly 7,000 years since the revelation of Isaiah in 1238. In November 1937. Yeah. Sorry. In November 1937, a crowned apparition proclaiming herself Queen of the Poor Souls in Purgatory was spotted making the first of 105 apparitions over a 3-year period at the small German North Sea village of Heide Ems. This apparition must have been Isaiah. The church has done its utmost not to draw attention to these visitations. This is in 1937. When are all of these other Marian apparitions happening? In the late 1800s and early 1900s. On February 11th, 1951, at Dusseldorf, Germany, the apparition of the Virgin Mary appalled the church by stating that she wished to be known henceforth as Our Lady of all peoples who once was Mary, and that she had come as a co-redeemer, advocate, and mediatrix. In her 44th apparition of the Amsterdam series in the early 1950s, she stated, Our Lady of all peoples promises to aid mankind if this title is acknowledged and I am invoked under this title. The Church of Rome has steadfastly refused to implement any request made by Our Lady of all peoples. In her apparition to nuns, she spoke through a wooden statuette dedicated to herself as Our Lady of all peoples at a convent near Akita, Japan on October 13th, 1973. 666 years to the day since the destruction of the Knights Templar Order. Referring to the apocalypse, she promised, I alone am able to save you from the calamity which approaches. Those who place their confidence in me will be saved. Boom shakalaka. So the Lady of Akita is also another Marian apparition. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man. That did tie in a lot of stuff, especially that was great. That's crazy because
it tied in some of the grave stones, some of the ghostly apparitions, the sights, the ley lines, these Marian apparitions. She even said to herself, I'm not going to be referred to as Mary anymore. I'm the one formerly known as Mary, but she's basically saying that she was Mary.
Yeah. And Mary's Isis too, right? Like there's that cross correlates.
Yeah, I think Isis, Ishtar, they even mentioned Asherah. She has many different names of many people. I think this was taken in the German context, so that's why it was spelled with an A in the middle because of the pronunciation, but it is indeed Isis, Ishtar.
So
Asherah.
What about, we're talking about Mars and Mary, and this Mer connection, the M being an ancient homage to water, Sanskrit and Hebrew and stuff like
Maritime.
that. Maritime, exactly. I'm thinking about Mars, right? Because there's a lot of talk that we come from Mars before Mars was destroyed, and we have these roots to Mars. But what if it's not Mars, the planet? What if Mars is describing Marduk or just the water, like a watery planet? Yeah. And you were talking earlier about Planet X. So I think that's a fun takeaway from today's slow burn
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to put that stuff together. I still, my opinion is still open to many things, but you know, aliens and religious stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of about it, but at the same time, I do keep my mind open because we've talked to many interesting people who talk about aliens and seeing things. And who am I to say that they're wrong or they're just having hallucinations or whatever, until I personally witness something and then can talk off my own, what's it called, experiences, then I'll leave it to other people to tell me what they have seen, I guess. I could only
I've seen UFOs.
Conclusion.
But I still don't necessarily believe that aliens would necessarily be humanoid. I feel like that's anthropocentric, human-centered thinking that we're the best type of animal and the aliens must look like us and that we're advanced.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we do have high technology, but the thing is, to me, it's like, does the technology mean that we're an advanced creature, or does that mean that we're reliant on some kind of crutch that allows us to even be, that we couldn't even exist without?
That's a good point, because what is some of the technology that we're using is to harness some of these qualities that man had before, or that these gods had before, of telepathy. We're now creating things to be telepathic. We're now creating things to be able to communicate with each other over long distances, where before we might have used a spiritual way of being able to connect with other people in far off places. And now we're building cars to transport ourselves to different places, where before we could have used astral travel to transport there. So we're declining as human beings, and we're inventing technology to keep up with our decline.
Well, I mean, if you think about the origin story, if we were muddled or meddled with genetically, and we're put here for a purpose, and it's like we weren't meant to have these types of technology, because we were meant to only be limited to our ability to mine and to be useful servants to these alien overlords, specifically referring to the Anunnaki story, right? Where we were basically created to mine gold. So it's like, we slowly have been like, getting more technology over time and less spiritual or less connected. So we're getting more of like these like hands-on physical pieces of technology, but losing that ability for travel and more psychic talk and stuff, which is interesting to think about. I mean, I don't fucking know, man. I also, here's the other thing, like what Andy was saying, it's just like, would we need technology in order to prosper when the turtle doesn't, the dogs don't, the birds don't? They're super content with their life. They're not necessarily looking for, the way to get off of Earth, because Earth provides everything that they need. So
we are the technology for the dogs.
In the modern sense in the human-centric sense, yeah, when you have a dog, you are there for the technology for the dog to get food, but the dog doesn't fucking need you, You need the dog for your emotion, so you can fucking put up your white picket fence and fit some sort of type of fucking criteriized rule that we've created for our fucking selves within the Matrix simulation, bro. Like, there's no need to have a turtle in a tank. I'm looking at a turtle in a tank. That's not my turtle. Whose turtle is that? Oh, she's not fucking here. She's never here. She doesn't care about this turtle in the tank. I'm like, why is your turtle in the fucking tank? Let it go.
Free the
but
turtle.
If she does, she will kill
Roman.
me. She will kill me.
Set
I might
the
do
turtle
it.
free, Roman.
If we get everybody in the chats to say to set the turtle free, we might do it on the next live stream. But you got to bring your friends, baby. We need to double these numbers, baby, because we out here spitting that straight heat, son.
You have to set the turtle free to its natural environment, not just put it outside and then put it back in the tank the next day so you don't get in trouble.
Now, if you release it into the sewers, it might turn into a Ninja Turtle.
Oh, I could find some sweet sewers. Dude,
Master
Alchemy stories, bro. I can't talk. I'm out of here. Are you guys content? Let's everybody plug all your things. Indy, you got any stuff left, brother?
Yeah, man. I put up like a new personal works folder up on my Facebook page, Indie Sage. Got my name up here underneath right there. And you can check me out on Instagram, Raw Sentinel, the other name I have right here. Also, I am the Vibe Tribe Scribe at vibetribescribe.wordpress.com is my blog that I just renewed. I got to put some new articles up on there, but there's a lot of my foundation of my research. It is open source. Feel free to use any of that information for your own research and your own advancement. And that's my plug. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Indy.
All right.
Appreciate you, man.
Glad to be here.
Yes. And Fire Tribe, if you're not down with that, wake up.